So this video is about colorism, and the first question is, so it's two parts. At what age did you start hearing about colorism, and how did you learn whether your skin was good or bad?
From the womb. From the womb. Like, I don't know, it's just like you always just kind of knew you were different. Does that make sense? Especially if you have like light-skinned siblings and dark-skinned siblings. Especially if you have sisters who are light-skinned. It's like, there's always going to be comparison from a young age, wherever you go. And it's not necessarily from your family, but from the larger community. It's just like, oh, like she's prettier. Or like, oh, she has a chinny, but that one's the beautiful one, you know? So, like, from a young age, like, it's just always been ingrained.
Yeah, I would definitely say from a young age, like, you know, you see, like, and not even just beyond just, like, things you hear, like, in your immediate circle or your immediate surroundings, but also the outside community, and then also just, like, if you look at a larger scale, like, you know, you don't see yourself represented as being beautiful, or even represented at all, like, in anywhere, you know, so you just grow up, you know, thinking, like, okay, my skin color is not quote-unquote beautiful, you know, and it does, I would say it does have, like, negative impact on how you perceive yourself, you know, and you kind of have to, like, unlearn those, like, negative beliefs that you internalize about your skin color.
Because it's, like, always on TV, it's, like, the bad guy is the dark-skinned person, or, like, in music videos, like, you know, we grew up in the 2000s, you feel me, like, the light-skinned girl was always, like, held on a pedestal, the video vixen, but the dark-skinned girl was always, like, the hose, so, yeah.
Or the angry one, if you look at Martin.
Gina
was the pretty one, and then...
but Pam was the baddest, if we're being honest.
She was always bitter and angry.
Yeah.
And that was
Next question.
So how do parents perpetuate colorism, and how does colorism affect families?
So my mom's Alhamdulillah, and I've been blessed, alhamdulillah, that she is not into it at all. She's just like, she's very, very, like, color does not matter to her. You know what I mean? And she's always been very upfront about how annoying that perception is of color. But a lot of times we go to extended family's house, and it's like, my sister's a little bit dark. Like, she's literally just a couple shades darker than me. Like, some of you know her, she's not even, like, much darker, right? And people will legit ask my mom, oh, Madoda and take a candy. Where did you get this black child from? You know what I mean? And it's like, and she's looking at them like, excuse me, you don't see me, I'm black too. You know, and she'll, like, make a joke out of it and just, like, try to brush it off. But it's like, it's this constant, like, separation of light versus dark, and they try to instigate that and, like, perpetuate it in a negative way.
And what's crazy is you look like your dad.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah. And my dad's very, very dark skinned. You know what I mean?
But
so,
you
like,
have, like, his face.
so we never had that, like, issue, because it was like my dad's, like, super dark, and then my mom was just, like, super white, and we were just all blended different shades of brown, and we never thought of it anyway. But other people would look in and be like, oh, well, this one is the prettiest and this one is that. You know what I mean? And they would make these assumptions. And so it, like, alhamdulillah, again, I say alhamdulillah because, like, they never created that environment for us, but it was always the immediate family outside of that that was like, oh, your daughter is this, or why, you know, like, I'm gonna look like this, or, you know, they would just always just say things that would make it harder for us to just be normal and not think about it.
Yeah, same. I feel like growing up, like, my parents didn't really, like, none of us were different, but it was like the outside. Like, if my cousins came over, my uncle would be like, oh, you know, your daughter, she's dark, but her hair is nicer, so they should switch, because that light-skinned girl, she shouldn't have rough hair, you know?
Yeah.
And then I was like, what is going on? And it's just like, my parents never said stuff like that, you know, but it's like the outside.
And, like, I see it with, like, my nieces and nephews, because, like, we, like, my immediate family doesn't have that belief, but it's like my sister-in-law has this, like, very typical, like, light is better mentality, right? And so with my nieces and nephews, I see how that affects them, because, like, the younger one's, like, super light skinned, and she'll tell the older one, yeah, I'm prettier than you, and yeah, I'm this and I'm that, you know, and she'll, like, she's so mashallah, man, may Allah protect that girl. She's so full, she's a beautiful kid, but so full of herself. So, like, whenever I go over there, I'll, like, tell the older one, I'm like, oh, your older sister's prettier than you because look at her brown skin. You know, like, I'll try to, like, reframe that narrative to make her understand that it's not just, like, your color that makes you beautiful.
I feel like the media also plays a big role because like sometimes like I don't know where little kids get this. I'm like, you're not even old enough to be in school, but how do you know like light skin, dark skin? You're just you're black. Like you should know the difference.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, on TV,
It's like even like social media too, like team light skin versus team dark skin, and then perpetuating these stereotypes of like what dark skin people do or what light skin people do. And when children watch that, because children are very impressionable and they do have access to all these medias, and when they watch that, they kind of internalize it, they act on it, especially when they see adults in their lifetime doing the same thing.
For the people who aren't dark skinned, how did you learn like your skin color was good or like?
I was homeschooled from like the 4th grade right up until high school, and then my first experience with like I guess acknowledging my skin tone was like when I was doing social work, which is like 3 years into college. So I was like a lot older. I was like 22, and I didn't understand I understand that people were racist, and I understood that people of darker skin were mistreated, but I didn't have a term for like colorism. And so it took me a while to kind of like understand like, oh, colorism exists and how like I play a role. So I think it's still a learning process, and I guess I'd say in my adult life, mostly because I grew up in a community where I just saw people that were a lot like me. So I never really like experienced much with the outside world. And even within my close-knit family, we have different shades. My dad's a lot darker than my mom's a lot lighter. And all of my siblings too, they were just like different shades of brown. So we were never treated differently. We all grew up the same. But going outside the house, I kind of like now as an adult, I can like, before I would not know that I would get privileges because of my skin color, but like as an adult now I could say I probably got ahead in line at the Somali store because, or like I get approached like more like, oh, let this person go first, or you know what I mean, because of the color of my skin. So I think it's all about like, a learning process. I'm still like learning, but I was much older when I learned that.
I realized it in 4th grade. Like I remember this moment too. So I was always daddy's little girl. I'm the youngest in my family, and my dad's, like I said, is really dark, and I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to look more like him. You know what I mean? I was like, that was my favorite person in the world, and I was like, I want to look like that person. And I remember one day he walked me to the bus stop, and I got on the bus, and this kid next to me was like, hey, that's crazy, you look like your dad, but ew, he's black as shit.
Ooh, wow.
Matunte.
Yeah. I was so hurt, bro. I punched him in the face. I was like, you piece of shit. You look like I was so offended, and I was like, that was like when it clicked in my head, because I was just like, that's crazy, because this is one of the best people that I know, and they, like, because of the color of his skin, this little boy had the audacity to speak of him this way. You know what I mean? Yeah, so.
How does colorism influence or impact friendships?
It does affect friendships because it's like you all go out and it's like you're automatically like invisible. Like nobody ever approaches you, nobody talks to you. People assume that you're like angrier, you're more bitter, and it's like a really weird thing. But like you really have to sit and reflect about all these interactions that you had, and it's like I don't know. It's like a mind thing. But
I feel like
Go ahead.
I feel like for me, I grew up in the north, so there wasn't like all my friends. It didn't matter the shade of their skin tone. We're all looked at like, as if like we're black, because the majority of people around there were like white. So.
Oh, in North Seattle?
Yeah.
See, in South Seattle, in the South End, girl,
They make that
it's a little different.
Very clear.
Team light skin, team dark skin is very apparent because there's so much more black people here.
It's funny because I would say I actually didn't really notice it much, and it's not because like I hung out mostly with Africans, so it's like there was really no differentiation for me personally. But when I went to Thailand, and obviously I got a lot darker in the sun, and I loved it. I was like, yeah, I'm like actually like super brown now. This is lit. But all the Thai people, like the Thai friends that I had made there, like even like my host parents, like advisors that I would work with there, everyone would like look at, like literally this was the exact statement, like, wow, you're so pretty, but you're so black. And it was like, for them it wasn't an insult. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't an insult. They were just like, we're not like being racist. I'd be so confused, like, dude, you're blacker than me. Like, how does this make sense? You know what I mean? Like you literally hating yourself. But for them it was like not just this, oh well, your skin's dark, but you're African, and two, like you're black. Like regardless of what you say or do, like we don't get blacker than this. You're black. You know what I mean? And that's when I finally realized, I was like, wow, y'all really hating based off of like a shade or two. That's literally the difference. Because if I came here in the winter, you would think I was Malaysian. You know what I mean? It's just like, and you wouldn't be hating. I don't know. It's just, that's when it clicked for me. I was like, wow.
In my experience, I think having friends of different shades has really like personally helped me because I get to hear their experiences, and it kind of opens up your eyes because sometimes you're just like used to what you experience, and then when you hear someone else's experience, it like literally opens up your eyes. Like one of my friends, she said that sometimes she'll get really rude stares, and for a while I was like, I didn't get that, and then once we were walking together, and then there's just like this random dude just like rudely staring, and I was like you know. So sometimes like you don't notice things because you never like experienced them, but when someone else like sheds lights on it, and you're like, okay, it makes you like more aware of like your actions and how you can better.
Yeah, I remember when I was in Spain and I was walking with a group of people and all of us are black, we're all different shades. I'm always usually like the darkest person in a lot of settings sometimes. And so we're all walking around in Barcelona and this guy comes up to me. He thought I was a prostitute.
Wow.
Ooh. And it's like everybody who I'm with, right, we're all black, but they're all hella light skinned. And then there's me, and he singled me out to be the prostitute. And it's because like in Barcelona, like that was like, you know, darker skinned people are the sex workers.
They're the lower of the economic.
And I was like 19 at the time. I was like, oh my god, like, are you kidding me?
And it's funny you said that because last week or a few weeks ago, I met this Nigerian dude and he's talking about how he went to Spain and he was like, this dude has a nice job, wears like designer clothes and stuff like that, you know, because he also grew up in London, and he was just like, as soon as he got off the plane, people were looking at him like he was about to start selling like whatever he had on him, like he had
Literally.
Gucci and stuff like that, because apparently like the West Africans that come to like European countries usually are the ones selling like knockoff stuff. So every time people would look at him, he'd be like, first of all, I could pay for it, don't look at me like that, like I bought this on my own, like back the fuck up, you know. So it was just crazy hearing his experience, because I was just like, wow, like the nerve. And he's like, yeah, people would just assume that you were just a worker, like a low income worker.
And I remember like another time I was in California and we're doing a job training, and I was, again, the people I came with from Seattle, like a Latina girl, a Tongan girl, and like 2 Black Americans who were like both very mixed, and myself, and then a white girl. And I remember the folks we were working with had like left these postcards out, and like the postcard for me was the Black N-word.
No.
Yes.
Did you?
I mean, obviously it was dealt with on a professional level, but like that, for me, I was like, whoa, like, are you kidding me? Like,
Oh,
Wait, who did this? The people that were
it was
at the place that you were staying?
Yeah, I mean, we were all going together for like a work thing. So they were like, they're from Oakland and LA, and we're from Seattle, so it was like 3 cities coming together for a conference. But like the kids were kind of, when we're all like 18, 19, 20, you know, like, yeah, they had left cards out, and then I found like different derogatory terms for different people, but like the one for me was like the Black N-word.
wow.
But like that affected, to go back to the question, like a friendship with those other kids. Like I never saw them the same after that. I was like, I unfollowed them all on Instagram, like, you know what I'm, so to answer the question, yeah.
The next one is, what role does colorism play in dating and marriage?
Wow, I was always told like I would never I was always told I would never find a husband.
Sips lemonade.
And I'm like, but I'm that bitch, like I'm hella fine and I'm smart and like, and people, elders would literally tell me like, you need to put Diana on or you won't find a man. The only people who will want you are white men, because they like dark skinned women. And I'm just like,
That's sad.
I got good credit. That's fucked up.
but Somali guys don't ever, I don't know if y'all have the same experiences, but it's really hard dating when you're kind of dark skinned. Like,
I mean, have you asked the guy like what his preferences are, and then he says, "Well, I'm looking for a light-skinned person."
Absolutely.
Like that happens all
That
the
happens
time,
all the
especially in
time.
Somali
I'm like,
community
then why are you
as
talking
well.
to me?
Yeah,
Talk to me,
yeah, like why are you
person.
talking to me? But it's just that's their preference, and that's what they want.
But it's a preference based on anti-black. You gotta challenge these preferences, you know.
yeah, but that's what they go for. It's like, I want a lighter skin, you know, girl, and that's what
A lot
it is.
of
Like,
that stems from the fact that they don't want kids that, because usually the person that says that is also a black guy, you know what I mean? Is you don't want kids that look like you. That's the issue, is that self-hate. Like usually it's like a dark skinned guy who's like, oh well, I want a light skinned girl so my kids will be light skinned. But that's only because you're hating on yourself and you don't want your kids to have the same problems that you have, which you could just stop by perpetrating them.
But there's also that chance that if they do marry a light-skinned girl,
They still
they'll
want
still fight.
I've also heard it vice versa. Like I've heard girls say they only want to marry like a light-skinned dude.
Or like light-skinned girls who specifically be like, oh, I want a dark-skinned dude, and I'm like, at what point are you getting fetishy? Because like, what about him? His skin color? That's it. Like I'm confused. You know,
I've heard that. I've heard people
friends
say they want either just their skin. A dark-skinned guy is my type, or a light-skinned guy, and I'm like,
wait.
The amount of chocolate emojis I've been sent, I'm so annoyed. I'm just like,
Now, why dark-skinned women are always compared to food?
I'm not chocolate, bro. Like I am, but like
that's not a compliment.
that's not. It sounds creepy,
Dark
especially
chocolate.
coming from light-skinned people. Like
Dark chocolate is disgusting. First of all, I'm a milk chocolate person. Like,
I like dark chocolate.
you don't like dark chocolate.
But like Shabazz, you're absolutely right. Like dark-skinned dudes will always like it's always the opposite. I don't know. It's just hella funny. I just be dying because I know that like a dark-skinned guy has and would never really approach me. It's just crazy. It's always light-skinned people.
I was listening to this podcast, and it's like these 3 Somali girls, and they were sharing their stories about like when they got married or when they were getting married. And one girl, she was talking about how when she was getting married, like her relatives and stuff, they're like, oh my gosh, and she's a dark-skinned girl. Her relatives were like, what's wrong with you, Miss Adening? Your wedding's tomorrow.
Yeah, they
And
like,
they're
yeah.
the guy is marrying me for, you know,
Surprise!
And the kids will not turn out light just because I bleach my skin.
Right.
It doesn't.
That's hella funny because both my parents are light-skinned. But I'm still dark-skinned. Like my 50-50 in my family, it's like you never know because Allah creates all of us differently. Like I'm sure my parents didn't, you know what I'm saying? It came out of nowhere.
Surprise.
My friend's brother, he's like really light skinned, and his wife was really light skinned, but they had like a really chocolate baby, and everybody was just like confused, like who did something wrong? Like, what did his wife do? And I was just like, the baby looks just like her dad, you know? Yeah. Her skin is just different. Yeah.
I think that's like with like Somali families, we all come in different shades. Like like literally, like
Literally.
a foundation line.
That's
That's a good tweet. I like that. So it's kind of like, even like 2 parents, they'll be like it's the same shade or different shades. The children will like be different
Because that's how genetics works. And we're black. We're not like Adam people or Andea people. We come in so many different shades.
Very
Asian people too. Like,
They do, but like
you know?
it's not as extreme. Like it's.
And
I have
feel like
siblings
it's
who are like
not.
Shabazz's color. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not that extreme. Like black people were so diverse, especially East Africans. We're the blueprint for humanity.
No, I see what you're saying, but I was gonna say, as someone who grew up with a lot of Asians, there's very dark skinned Asians, and then there's
But in the same
very
family?
light. Yeah, like I've even. Oh, I see. Okay, I see what you're
That's what
saying. I see
I'm
what you're
saying. In the
Now I know
same
what you're
family
talking about.
unit,
Okay,
because
never mind.
like my sister is Shabazz's color, and I'm, you know what I'm saying. We have the same face, but it's like
The same
within
parents and everything.
right. So that's what I mean is that like you won't, because we're black and it's in the whole diaspora, we're gonna all come out. We have every DNA in this.
That's true. That's why I have like really multi-racial looking children in Somali families.
Different hair textures, different.
You know what's funny? Growing up, I have a cousin who's like really dark, but like she's so pretty, you know. So growing up, I used to be like, I used to admire it, you know. I used to be like, I want to be just like, I want to be as dark as you know. So at least I used to be like, let me get your foundation, you know. And then she used to be so, no, just as a kid, I used to like, you know, just because like she had really nice eyes, really nice mouth, you know, great teeth, you know. But like she hated it so much because she got really bullied for it, you know. So she hated it. She used to be like, you're making fun of me. Like she used to like growing up, she used to be like, I don't want to talk to you because you're making fun of me, you know. And I'm like, no, I like genuinely just like it. And she wouldn't understand that, you know, just because of like how the family was and how like people at school treated her. It was just it's sad.
Light skinned women get privileges, dark skinned women don't. Like
It's
and they're viewed more in society, and then there's things like Diana, so that's pushed on to darker skinned people.
Okay, and then like personally, how do you feel about your own skin color?
I love my shit. Come on now.
My shit's popping in the summer. In the winter, I look hella pale. But not come summertime, I get that summer glow. I be looking golden. I be like, ting ting. But yeah, the winter comes around. I'm like, that's how you know I belong in Africa, because this winter, no sun life is not for me. Wallahi.
Not for none of us.
It's crazy. Like,
I will say for me also, thinking back on it, because of my sisters, I feel like I'm the lightest because everyone else is much darker than me. And one thing that I'm glad my sister taught me is when she was in high school and I was a little younger, you know, she was wearing makeup and stuff like that. The one thing she would always be like, it's better to look darker than lighter. Because like if you look at pictures, you don't want to look like a ghost as a dark skinned person. I would much rather look like I got tanner or something, you know. And I was like, girl, you're absolutely right. And ever since then, like even if my foundation's too dark, I'm like, I'd rather it be too dark than it be too light, especially as someone who has darker skin.
because girl, that flashback, you don't need that. But to answer your question, like I felt like growing up, like I really, and even the moments like this still happen. I'm almost 23. I did not think I was beautiful. I did not like the color of my skin. Like there'd be times where I'm just praying to God, like, you know, like please just like let me wake up lighter skin, like literally after Salah, because I'm like, you know what, you know your du'as are accepted after you break your fast. Let me just make this du'a right quick, and you know, but that's how deep the conditioning is, you know, that we're socialized. And at 23 now, I'm so happy to say that I love the skin I'm in. Like I'm just like, wow, like I'm so the older I get, the more confident I get in my body and in my skin, and always taking selfies. I think I'm so cute, but it took but it took so long, so much growth to get to that point, because there are still moments where I'm just like, damn, if I was just a little bit lighter, you know. So it's a constant journey of self-love, because I said earlier, from the womb, like you're told that you're not beautiful, that you're not smart enough, that you're not worthy enough. And yeah, so
I will say, like, I'm glad now, especially out of our generation, like what we're teaching to the younger kids is now that black features is a thing and everyone else is trying to get the nose, the lips and everything like that, dark skinned women are being praised more. And like now kids have people like Michelle Obama to look up to, and like darker skinned women. So it's like, hopefully they don't go through the same shit, because we went through a lot, especially
we did.
for people who are much darker too.
Yeah, I would definitely say that, like, growing up, I did not feel like I was beautiful. And it, like, you know, like you said, like, it was such a long process to get to, like, where I am today. Like, it took a lot of, like, self-work and, like, just deconditioning yourself, you know? But yeah, and even, I think for me, it wasn't just like skin, I think another question will hit on this, but for me, it wasn't just like skin color, it was also like the texture of my hair, the features, like I just did not think I was beautiful, and like, and you know, it took such a long time for me to accept my hair, love like my natural hair the way it is, love my features, embrace the color of my skin, and to find that beautiful. And even though it took such a long time, like I'm happy where I'm at right now, and I think I finally like made it to that place. Like,
doesn't it feel good?
Yeah, I'm just like, I finally made it to that place. Like, I'm there and I'm happy, and I just hope, like, you know, other young dark girls don't have to go through such a long journey to get to that place. I just wish that they are just born, and they're just born into that.
Celebrated.
Yeah, born celebrated, instead of having to, like, you know, just go through that pain and like that. It's not a good place to be.
I feel like we're getting there though, like the younger generation loving their, like, you know, their skin, because my niece, she just turned 2, but like she really loves like this black baby, like there's like 3 babies in the house, and she's like, no, this is mine, like this black one, like she does not want the white one, she like wants the black one, and I'm just like, that's so beautiful, you know, for her to recognize that at such a young age.
I think also self-love also has to do like what kind of environment you grew up in, and I'm gonna go back because I just love my experience I had in Malawi, and so to see like how here, when I was here, everyone was like, you know, they wanted that light skin, and you know, like you didn't feel good about yourself, you felt really ugly for whatever reason. And so going to a country where everyone was the same color as you, that is a completely different kind of experience that you would have. And so for me, it's like hearing, you know, some of my friends, like how, you know, my white friends, and how they felt very intimidated by the black women there. because
Why you there?
Yeah.
Why you there?
There. No, seriously. It wasn't. It was just like the way how the Malawian women, dark-skinned black women, carried themselves, and it was like they were the cream of the crop. Like all the guys would go for them, and they're like, I just feel so. Like they would literally say, I feel so insecure about myself. Yes. Yes.
And you know where you belong.
Yeah. No, and then so and then it was a conversation was brought up. It was like in America they never really have to think about that. They didn't have to think about, you know, because everyone desired that.
Now they know what we feel.
So being in that place and how the women how they dressed up and how everyone was going after them, you know, it was like these are not your typical black women. These are African women, and so it was just it was such a beautiful experience to see that. It was just like so. I mean, it was really nice. Yeah.
What about for other people? Like, how do you feel about your own skin color?
Oh, or skin color?
Yeah.
I've never experienced anything. I'm that careless person, you know. Growing up, well, I did not care about that stuff. Maybe it's because I didn't experience, you know what I mean, all that coming from family and friends. But I've always just liked who I am, you know what I mean? I've just always been like that chick, you know? Like even now, bro, I feel like whatever, you know what I mean? And I never made my friends who felt that way feel less than themselves. I was always that person that I tell my friends, I'm like, it's cool, it's you, you know what I mean? What you gonna do? You know, just accept who you are, let's go, you know what I mean? I've always told my friends that, even though now I understand that I didn't understand what they were going through, but I was always that person that's like, you know, it is what it is now, you know what I mean? Just walk with it, you know? But overall,
for me growing up, I didn't necessarily have any problem with my skin tone or how I looked. It was the people that, you know, that I was around. And so in elementary school, it wasn't really like my African people that would make comments. It was usually African Americans that would make the comments. It was like, oh, you're a tar baby, or, you know, just say stuff like a tar baby, yes. So it would be them that would make a tar baby, like someone who's like very, like someone, you know what tar?
Is that Joho?
You know, tar is like what you make with the cement, the pavement, hella dark, like this, like, and then you were dipped in it, you know, and so it was usually African Americans that would make those kind of, you know, remarks, and it was never like my African people. It was always, you know, African Americans, and then so also in college, it was also like that too, and so it was like, you know, you'll find someone who's like mixture, you know, African American or like some kind of, you know, different color, and then they would be the one who's making you feel bad. Maybe because most of my friends were African American, and so, but I never felt like, you know, any different with being with, you know, Africans. But then when it came with African Americans, it was completely different.
That's crazy.
I had the opposite experience.
Really? Wow.
And African girls were like the number one bullies, bro. Like, for dark, especially lighter skinned Somali girls. I'm like, you're getting gas because you're not on the equator anymore. But honey, go back to Somalia and I'm sure you could have a different narrative. And like, it was just polar opposite, especially like I said, like my older sister is lighter skin and we're 2.5 years apart, so people were always constantly comparing us. My older brother's a year older than me, he's also light skin, so in elementary school it was always like, what happened to you, as if it was a bad thing. And then like the Somali community, I remember this hobby at one time at like a little Somali gathering thing. She was like, oh yeah, you need to like whiten your skin. Like, whose daughter is this? Like, oh, well, who brought her here? Like, and then they were like, oh, that's so-and-so's. That's like in a, you know, my dad's name, insert his name. That's his daughter. And she's like, what? Him? He's so beautiful. That's her mom? She's beautiful. What happened to her? And then she was like, you know, like, you need to, she was like telling everybody this girl needs to whiten her skin. I'm 8 years old, right? I'm like, shook. She's like, it's second grade. She's like, this girl needs to whiten her skin. Who brought her here? They need to stop putting in work ASAP. Matter of fact, you see my daughter over there, points to her daughter, who's at my color, and she's like, I'm gonna get her right. Don't even worry about it. Fast forward, like, you know, 20s. her daughter is light skinned now, and it's just like it's crazy, bro. And
Her daughter's light skinned.
Diana.
And I'm like, wow, like she really stuck to her word. But that was as a second grader, that was like one of the most traumatic experiences.
Imagine how she
ever.
is mentally now.
Yeah.
compared
Well,
to you.
I mean,
Or
girl,
poor girl. And I'm saying I feel so bad for her. Like,
man,
that's so
listen,
sad.
and it's not just her. It's so many girls in the Somali community that we grew up with. Like I'm telling you, in like
Yeah,
elementary and middle school, you was chocolate, and now you Beyonce. Like what's up?
Even
and-
Beyonce was a little.
Right, and so, but like as a dark skinned person, I can never be mad at them for making that choice. What I'm mad at is a society that makes
That
girls
forces
want to
them.
change, that
Yeah.
push them, that push their mothers to push them to do that. Like
And
that-
homes are skin too. It's not
Right.
just
It's-
being
yeah,
light.
you're harming
There's
yourself.
repercussions that come with it.
it's crazy,
Yeah,
and it's
especially
really the
because it
society
has
that,
like chemicals in it, so it blows my mind that people back home do it because literally, if you go under the sun, you can literally burn your skin. Like it's so.
and it's not like you're in
unhealthy. You
Seattle, you're
cannot
not in
be-
America, you're
Right.
literally smelling
Under the
close to
sun.
the equator. Like what are you
Like,
doing?
It's so
Technically,
unsafe.
there's some gloves and stuff like
They
that.
do the most.
crazy.
Yeah, they do
In
the
the
most.
vibes on deck.
Yes.
But doesn't that attract more heat though? Since it's like
So girl, you just burning up for what? You would have just been dark already. Like,
it attracts more heat. Yeah, black attracts more heat. Like
that's crazy. Make it different colors.
I think there's a lot
Yeah.
of because sometimes like the skin bleaching, like it takes so many layers of your skin out.
and you can see the veins.
Yeah.
It's like it's
And it's
green.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of scary.
It's so
It's
it's,
risky
it's
as
like
hell.
ghostly white. It's more
Yeah.
like scary. I'm like even white people ain't that white.
And so people putting themselves through that. It's like
It's not
shows
even
you how
natural
society.
light.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready for the next question?
Yeah.
All right. Have you addressed your own biases and issues with colorism so that you don't perpetuate colorism among others in the world?
That question is not hitting me right.
Why?
Say it again. It's just
So
worded.
she's
It's-
basically saying like, have you checked yourself on the biases you have, especially like for lighter skinned people, like what you've been instilled in or what you've been taught towards like dark skinned people. So
So that you don't perpetuate.
So you
that
don't do it
same
again.
colorism.
yeah.
I don't know. In my, I just feel like me. I'm always because I grew up in a household where my mom, like, she's very like, she doesn't try to make us feel bad, but she's very like direct and like. Growing up, I didn't have a lot of Somali. I didn't actually have any Somali people around. I was always.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Ohio,
Mm.
so
You said you haven't grown up around Somali people?
no, I haven't grew up. Where I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and there was not a lot of
You
Somali
can hear
there.
that.
So back then,
It does,
I
she
can.
does have a
Yeah,
Midwest, okay.
like you haven't been.
I didn't know they had
accent.
I didn't hear that until now. I'm listening.
When I met her, I was like, I heard it.
yeah. So and then my mom always kept us in like she felt comfortable having us around like very clean Adan areas just because like I had brothers and she didn't want them to do anything or any of that stuff, you know what I mean? So she always was like closed boxed. We went to like private schools or only Adan people where she paid all this tuition. So I didn't really
Damn, girl, you was living the life.
no, I wasn't. And then, so she's always like, so I'm basically, my thing is like, I'm like I grew up being one-minded, you know what I mean? So then I moved to Seattle and then I got to college where I was more around Somali people, more black people and all of that. And I've learned to like, it's okay to hear other people out, you know what I mean? Like, listen to other people. I used to be like, it's this way or no way. Like, I used to argue with my friends. I remember freshman year, I used to sit there and be like, no, you can't do that, it's this way. And they used to be like, no, you don't understand. So I've learned over
Can
the
you give an
years.
example? What do you mean?
Girl, what you mean?
Like-
Winter quarter, we're arguing.
We always argue.
right, dude?
Bro, me and this girl. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, freshman year of college, I met a lot of Somali guys, So then we would talk about things like, drugs and how Somali boys have to do this, they have to go ahead and sell this and that, you know what I mean? So then the way I grew up is like, you don't have to do anything you want to do, It's your choice.
Technically, she is right though.
So I used to be like, they used to be like, oh, this person ended up in jail because they had to do, they didn't have a choice.
No,
And I
you
used to
really
be
didn't
like-
have to sell
Yeah.
nothing.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
but
environment
that's
you're
not-
in,
no,
with
but
the
I
environment you're in,
learned-
just
but I
what you're
really
taught.
did.
That's a whole different discussion.
I mean, I feel you that though. Systemically, some things lead people to do certain things. Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
no.
Like, I don't
So I've had arguments with people. Like I used to be like, no, you can get get out of the situation. But
Yeah.
there is
It's not that
situations
easy.
that you can't get out of, you know. So it took me a lot, like, to accept that there is situations that some people are in that they can't get out of, you know. And I had to accept that, yeah, you know, maybe I didn't go through it. Doesn't mean this person didn't go through it, you know. Maybe I've made a smart decision this time, but this person didn't have it. They just had to make a decision, you know, not the best decision. So stuff like that, you know. I don't know what the question was.
Yeah, can we stay there?
Yeah, I don't
She
think.
explained it.
So basically, she's saying what the biases you have about colorism
What do you
or
mean?
like
About
darker skin people.
How are you, what are you
How are
doing
you
to
checking
address
yourself?
it? How are you
Yeah.
checking
Yeah, I
yourself
just
before you wreck
You know
yourself?
what? It's
All of that, I understand, but okay.
I feel like growing up, well, I used to live in Utah before I lived.
Y'all just Somali, let me
Ohio,
I don't know why we lived there, but like growing up, like we were taught that like, or like what we would just see on like Cops. We used to watch that a lot. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
And so it was like always like the black person was the victim, right?
Yeah.
And then so we were always taught that like, oh, don't go to that community. You know, there's a lot of black people, and you know, something's gonna happen.
Can we
there.
specify?
But it was just like I was.
Yeah.
I don't. Huh?
We are black. It's just African Americans.
Yeah, African American to be exact. Yeah. So I felt like that was so instilled in us that like we literally were scared to go to certain neighborhoods, even though like the neighborhood we lived in, there was all it was
But
like.
is
all
that
predominant.
colorism or is that like a different ism? You feel me?
I feel like it's
It sounds like this prejudice.
Yeah, why are you guys making it
Answer question.
So I said, okay.
colorism because
I mean, not all like African American people are dark skinned though. Like,
But she
there
was
is-
kind of right. A lot of
know,
the
I
top
would-
shows were dark skinned people.
Yeah.
Because if you
So
really
that's-
look at like,
But would she
they
treat a
always
dark
make
skinned
seem
Somali
like.
person the same? I just don't feel like
Oh.
it was really answering the question.
I mean, but that is a set of colorism because
Yeah.
black people are. I mean, African Americans are black people, so it's being colorist towards another
Like black
person
people.
of your
Because we're the same race.
Yeah.
I guess. So it's like,
even if it's not in the
But
but
Somali
I think
community,
even
it
in
could be
those
another
shows, like,
you know.
they
I
always
was just
make it
trying to
a dark-skinned
understand
black
it,
person,
yeah.
It's like how the media portrays it.
Yeah, if you really look at cops,
Because
all
I hear
the
that, I don't know, I didn't immigrate here, but I heard that like they show videos and stuff.
yeah, no, actually,
Immigration.
Oh, that's you.
I didn't know. Thank
You come
God.
like looking at the ground, not knowing what to do. Look at stare at people. They tell you not to litter. They say that the government.
What are you talking about?
We not to
Don't worry on you. When you walk out,
You guys, America. Can we stay on topic? This is not an immigration
Sorry.
section.
We can talk about that
We gonna have this conversation afterwards.
Hiya.
Okay.
But anyone really like, I don't think anyone
Okay,
really kind of.
The question was how are we addressing
How do you
our
check
biases,
yourself?
right? As I said, my family has many different shades, so I don't really feel like I've ever perpetuated colorism because it just doesn't make sense to me, to say the least. But one thing that I have been doing to consciously change that narrative and change what people's perception about that is with younger kids, with like when I see my nieces and nephews and their friends, and the way that they see themselves, and constantly reinforcing their positive opinions and positive outlooks about like what they think is beautiful and like what they think, like I guess giving them a positive way to look at what they think is not beautiful. And like when they compare themselves negatively to other people, like showing them a positive example of that same thing so that they can have something to reference, you know? And like for me, like growing up, one of the things that made it easy was that a lot of the people that I looked up to, a lot of people that I loved, were people of darker color. You know what I mean? So when you see people more as humans before you see them as a shade, it makes it a lot easier to relate to them in different ways. And so like providing that to younger kids, like giving them examples like, hey, well, you know, this celebrity, or you know, like this author, or this like revolutionary, like they all look like you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know for me, I'm a gasser. Anytime like people of darker skin, I'd be like, girl, you're so bomb, this and that. Like one of my friends, her best friend is super dark skin, and like she was so insecure and she was always worried about it. But every time I saw her, I was like, damn, bro, you don't even need foundation. Your skin's literally glowing. Like, wow, you know, you're so dope. Like, yeah, I'm like, give me your skin texture. I'm acne over here, like. But for me, I know for sure, just like always making it clear, like there's nothing wrong with being dark skinned. Like there's nothing wrong
yeah.
with any skin tone you have, you know, but specifically like to the dark skinned kids, like you guys are hella bomb, you better know it too. And then we already deal with so much shit, like stop coming at each other for skin color. And I'm always ready to check somebody's Hoya auntie, what's up? Like we're not doing none of that to kids at all. Like I'm not here for it.
Yeah. And I think also checking like yourself as where you stand, like your privileges, saying like in a situation, always knowing that okay, this is where I stand in this situation, and maybe my experiences are different. But I think we all agreed on like being cognitively aware at all times, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last question is, what can we do on a communal level to help end colorism?
I feel like a lot of that was just answered.
Yeah.
So do everything. Do everything we just
On
mentioned.
a communal level.
Yeah, I know.
Not
Bring
like
awareness.
personal
Bring
level.
awareness.
It's just living with the
Bring called Diana.
So one thing that I like
Ben
really
Diana.
irritates
Ben
me
Diana,
is
yeah.
that adults, like when I say adults, older people are not likely to change, right?
Yeah,
Once you
Stuck
pass
in their way.
40, it's kind of like who knows? Like you're set in the way that you are, right? What frustrates me is people spend so much time and energy and effort trying to change the minds of older people and neglecting the youth.
Yeah.
And that's
Absolutely.
like one of the biggest pet peeves, because it's like these old people will sit there and argue with them, argue with each other, and argue with you, and give you the most ridiculous myths about why this is factual.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
There's no,
And
makes
then
no
like.
sense.
And instead of so what can we do to change that? Is nurture the youth, give them positive reinforcements, like change their perspective. You know what I mean? Yeah, definitely.
And celebrate them from a young,
Yeah.
as soon as
Yes.
they enter this world,
You're
Like the Lion King, you gotta do the Lion King
like
presentation.
celebrate them, let them see representation of like who they are everywhere in the house.
Yes.
And there's a book, I don't know if you guys know, but it's called The Outlier by
Yes.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Oh my God, yeah.
It talks about how like children that are embraced at a young age and like given the confidence to speak do a lot better. Not even not counting in their socioeconomic status, their race, their gender, anything. But when they're instilled to have like a voice, they prosper much higher than other kids. And so I think
That's definitely me.
that's a very good point.
right. It was instilled in you.
Yeah.
No,
for
another thing
Empower them
that's
from a
like
young age.
really people will often tell like darker skinned people that you're beautiful despite your color.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're cute for a dark skinned girl.
Yeah, you know what I
Right.
mean? And the kids hear that a lot. Like, oh wow, you're really pretty. It's okay that you're dark skinned.
You're pretty for
You know what I
pretty
mean?
for a dark skin.
Yeah, and I think like changing that narrative, like no, you're
No,
beautiful
bitch, I'm pretty.
because
Regardless.
you're a dark skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that is another reason that adds to your beauty, not takes away from it. You know?
You guys ever look at somebody and you're like, damn, is you cute or is you light skinned?
Which one is it,
I'm sorry, you guys. That's colorism.
I think what are you guys' thoughts on colorism in the Muslim community? Like, you know how they're making others are like, oh, they're talking about something, they always talk about blackness in a negative way. Do you think that also affects how non-black Muslims see black Muslims?
Bro, to them we're all a bunch of gangsters and we're hoodlums.
Especially that chef,
Especially in the UK and shit.
that chef that made that big
Did you see that?
khutbah and that said, you know, when you think
Don't
of
be like those blacks.
Yeah, don't
don't
be
be
like
like
those
those-
blacks wearing.
It's not even
baggy
black people, don't be
pants,
like those
you know.
blacks.
And then
Yeah.
he
Yeah,
justified that.
Yeah,
He
he
never
justified
apologized.
it.
He
Never
justified it.
apologized.
Says,
Wow.
Did he apologize?
No, he didn't.
he justified
No.
his answer.
Yeah.
He was all like,
Abayo, just like how there was this masjid in the south, and I'm not going to say no names. So
There's so few, so we don't know.
I was there for a khutbah once. It was a Friday khutbah. I never went back. So they said Somali women are the #1 people to get abortions. And,
I can already guess which one
and
this
I
is.
was just like, oh, like, is that right? Like, because when I go to doctors, they don't ask you your ethnicity, they ask you your race.
exactly.
So how are they gonna know that you're
No,
Somali?
They were specific. Someone.
It was a very like anti-black. I felt like statement to make us feel that this is
Was
a
it a non-black?
community, girl. Yes.
Oh,
This is
okay.
a-
That's
Oh, you
so
know.
This
no
was a non.
black, and the
Yeah.
person who
Somali?
said this was a white sheikh.
Oh wow.
There's a white chef in the south.
That is so because he's probably bitter because he got rejected by a Somali girl.
Right.
You know anybody that does, they got something against me. Always.
They really do.
Either they
So-
praise us or they put us down. So it's never in between.
So you know me, I'm always gonna say something. So me and my homegirl go to like one of the top like sheikhs in Seattle who's not black, which I'm sure you guys all know. So we came up to him and we're like, yo, what the hell did he just say? Like that's not okay. And he's like, the whole institution was like, we're going to back him up by his statement.
Are you serious?
Because he didn't get this from out of nowhere. It wasn't. I still have the emails.
It was an email. It was in written.
It was also
Blast
It was
Blast
That's crazy.
You know this one.
Evidence? Wow.
Shorty does, because it was two of us. So she personally emailed him,
wow.
responded to the email, and to my face and to her face, he was like, you know, we're gonna back him up. Like, he didn't get this information from thin air. And I'm like, bro, like, you guys are a non-black masjid. Like what?
That's
You know what I'm
slander,
saying? And you gonna sit here and be like, Somali women are the number one. Like, where is that coming from? You're over sexualizing us because of our skin color.
Making us seem
Making
fast.
us right. All this
You know
stuff.
the irony to all of
In the
that
same
is-
lecture, they said the boys are all dying and drugs out. I was just
the
sitting
irony
there.
of all that
and
is East African Muslims are the ones that are exceeding in Quran
Come on.
competitions.
Okay.
Right.
But we
Somalis
were doing
especially.
the best religiously. Like we follow the religion a lot more than most other communities. And for them to say that's like
fourth holiest city is in Ethiopia. How did
Hello.
bro? Come on.
Hello.
So I don't know, but the non-black community, Muslim community, it's so funny how like you guys know when Nia was murdered on the Oakland train. You know. They were silent, and as soon as they found out she was Muslim, and Stephen Clark, as soon as they found out
the person was Muslim, then all of a sudden it's
Most barely still even cared.
but then at the Chapel Hill shooting, everybody and their mothers knew about
or when the synagogue,
Everybody.
they raised how much money for that synagogue?
Do you know the three Muslims, the Arab Muslims?
Did you see that little boy in Seattle who was killed in the North End?
Nobody said anything.
Nobody said
It
anything.
was so hard to find news on
Yeah.
Nobody said anything. It was just
Literally stuff
like
like years
solely.
later.
Exactly.
The issue with the Islam, modern day Islam, especially in America, is that we constantly put our culture before our religion, right? And that's evident when you see imams like Umar Sulaiman and Numan Khan who are actively doing pro Black Lives Matters
Especially
sections. You know what I mean? And they're constantly going out to reaching out to these families who are not even Muslim. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like every shooting, they're present and they're reinforcing the idea that Islam stands up against oppression, all types of oppression, any color, any race, any size. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Heck, I thought Umar Sulaiman was Afro-Palestinian. I know about Shaah.
I thought he was like
He must be.
But look, there's something wrong. That's another thing that's so sad is that we have this like tendency to want to believe that anyone who stands up for Black people must be black. You know what I mean?
You have one drop rule.
Do you feel me?
Yeah.
And the thing is, like,
Somewhere
it's not
there's a
Islam
drop.
in
There's
its
a drop.
essence. Like, they're supposed to destroy that mentality. It's supposed to destroy
Literally.
that belief. You know what I mean? And it's like people talking about. Like, he said, he did this lecture about the most beautiful prophet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was saying everyone says.
he's black.
No, because he said that everyone says that Allah SWT never had a black prophet. You know what I mean? So clearly black people were not held in high standard. Yusuf alayhi salam was a black man.
What?
He was a black man. He was a black man.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so Moses alayhi salam, you feel me? So it's like, and we don't talk about it. We don't teach
So
these
was
things in
Moses.
Islam. You know what I mean?
Like, I knew
And so
that.
it's just like, what the most beautiful man.
No wonder they were cutting their fingers.
Beautiful.
They
We talked about Adam. Adam was black.
no, they
Sweet color.
Listen, moral of the story.
It was quite not true.
That we need to put our deen first before our doesn't. And that applies to every Muslim community. So it's like when we talk about the Muslim community, the issue is that all of our Muslim communities have too much culture in it. They're not Islam based, they are our culture based. You have like the Indian Muslims, the Cham Muslims, the East African Muslims.
But
you
it's
know what I
not
mean?
bad to have.
No, it's
No, but she's saying they're putting it before the
No,
deen,
but I'm
which
saying,
is
yeah,
true.
so what I'm saying
Because
is
a lot of people do it all the time.
yeah, we're culture based, not deen based. So if you have like a deen based like community that has culture, that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
You feel me? But we have a culture based community that kind of has deen. You feel me?
Yeah.
And that's where the problems come in. So that's everything.
Well, ladies, I had a wonderful time today. Thank you all for joining us, and to many more fruitful discussions.
Inshallah.
Look at you sound like an intellect. Subscribe for more.
You should add that to the beginning.
Yes.